Today is February 7th, 2024. I'm Joe Reingold, and I'm here with Larry Feldman. Good afternoon, Larry.
Good afternoon to
T-
you.
Tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where was your family from? Where did they live? What kind of things did they do for a living, etc.?
Well, I grew up in East Texas, a small town, Overton, Texas, which was very small. And then I moved to Longview, Texas, which is about 30 miles from Overton. And I went to Temple in Kilgore, Texas, uh, which is between Overton and Longview. There was a temple in Kilgore, Texas, and East Texas. I guess the Hunts found oil there and became very rich in East Texas. My grandfather came from Russia, and they came in through Galveston, Texas, instead of New York. A lot of Jewish people came through New York. That's why New York had so many Jewish people. But if you couldn't afford it, you went to Galveston because Texas wanted people. It was very smallly populated, so you could go to Galveston cheaper. So my grandfather and grandmother came in from Galveston, Texas, and went from Galveston, Texas, to make a long story short, ended up in Longview, Texas, which is East Texas. He went into the scrap business in East Texas, and it's an interesting story. He came in with a man named Feldman, which owned Commercial Metals, which was a scrap yard in Dallas, Texas. And they were gigantic, but since Jake Feldman's father came in with my grandfather, he would never open a scrap yard in East Texas to compete with my grandfather because they were friends. And my grandfather really first came into Shreveport, Texas, which is about 60 miles from Longview in Louisiana. And they had a house there. And then he went to Longview and opened a scrap yard there. I actually, when I was younger, worked in that scrap yard. So you learn hard work working in a scrap yard. I call it a scrap yard, but it was a junk yard. That's what it was. People sold their junk, their used parts of cars and this and that. And I actually worked in there, and I learned a good work ethic working in a scrapyard. So my grandfather and grandmother had a scrapyard in Shreveport, and then he went to Longview and had a scrapyard. That's a long, short story.
And you grew up there until when?
I grew up in Longview, Texas, till I graduated high school in Longview, Texas. I'm not bragging, but I was a very top-notch athlete, and I played football there and everything.
Did that earn you a scholarship anywhere?
No, I didn't get a scholarship. I was too small, but I was good in all sports, basketball, football, everything.
What other kind of activities did you have in high school?
That's interesting. I'm not sure that I really ever did anything outstanding in high school that I could tell you about. they actually, my grandfather and parents are in a book that my wife brought down here, and it's called Raisins and, what's the full name, Janice? Show it to
Raisins
me.
and almonds and Texas oil.
Raisins and Almonds and Texas Oil. If you know anything about East Texas, they discovered, H.L. Hunt discovered oil there and got very rich.
Yes. So what did you do after high school?
After high school, I went to, well, for a short time I went to Kilgore Junior College, but then I ended up going to the University of Oklahoma instead of University of Texas because they were great rivals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met my wife at the University of Oklahoma.
And what did you study there? What did you want to be?
Probably didn't know what I wanted to be, but I majored in accounting. And I graduated with an accounting degree, and my brother lived in Dallas, so we moved to Dallas, and I went to SMU, and that's where I went to law school and graduated at SMU Law School. Then I went to work for the largest accounting firm, Pete, Mark, and Mitchell, which was actually the probably the largest accounting firm in the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't like accounting work, so I met several attorneys in Dallas, and I went to work for a small litigation firm called Marks, Time and Aronson. And I went to work for them, but I really, they didn't pay very much. And then there was the Youngerman firm, which was a little more bigger, and that was a Jewish firm. And then I opened my own law practice, and I was a trial lawyer. I'm a certified civil law and personal injury law. Personal injury, obviously, is car accidents and everything. And civil law is contracts. And I had my own law firm. I started my own law firm. It was called Feldman, O'Donnell, and Neal. I used to tease about it. It covered all bases. It had a Jewish partner, me,
Mm-hmm.
O'Donnell, who was Catholic, and Neal, who was Episcopalian. So we covered all religions, and I was a personal injury and civil trial specialist. I did trial work, but I did appellate work too, which one thing I'm proud of. I have a landmark case here in the state of Texas, changed the law for the whole state. And I'm very proud of that. That'll be the law in the state of Texas forever. The Supreme Court ruled in my favor.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, not too much to tell about. It was like a slip and fall case, but it changed the law. That the law used to be a woman slipped and fell by a swimming pool. And it will be the law in the state of Texas forever.
That's something to be proud of, for sure.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's,
What brought you to Dallas, though, after you graduated? What made you decide on this city?
on Dallas. That's a good question, what decided me on Dallas.
Your brother.
I think what the big deal was my brother lived in Dallas. He was a stockbroker in Dallas. He had muscular dystrophy. He was in a wheelchair, and he wanted me to come to Dallas instead of staying in Oklahoma, and that's what brought me to Dallas.
What year was that? How long ago?
63.
63. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
63, and I came to Dallas. And worked for the accounting firm, and then I started a law firm.
Did you have time to do anything else? Did you and your wife join any organizations or a synagogue or anything like that?
Yeah, she knows all that stuff probably better than me, but the synagogue in East Texas was, the first one was in Kilgore, Texas, and then we belonged to a synagogue in Dallas.
What about children? Did you guys have any children?
Of course we had
Okay.
children.
Tell us about your family. How did it grow?
Well, I had a son who lives in California, Joey Feldman. I think the reason he's Joey Feldman is at that time Joey Bishop, the movie star, was famous, and I liked the name. And so I named him Joey. I don't think he's proud of that, but that's why I named him Joey. And then I had a daughter named Kelly Feldman, which is like an Irish name. And so I named her Catherine Lynn Feldman. And both of them live in San Diego. And I have a home in San Diego, and probably will be going there pretty soon to visit all my grandchildren who are in San Diego. They're all in San Diego, and I'm here in Dallas. But I spent so many years here in Dallas. I have so many friends here that we visit with, so that's really why we're here at the Legacy instead of full-time there. But we get on a plane and fly out there, and we have a home out there, and we have friends out there, and visit all the grandchildren.
Very good.
Now,
How did they get to San Diego?
how
anything
did
specific?
they get to San Diego? Well, I'd have to ask my wife really how they ended up in San Diego. But my wife was originally from San Diego, and we bought a house, and we have a house out there, and that's where all the grandchildren are. And so we go out and stay in our house in San Diego and visit all the grandchildren. Now, you want a side story about Jewish people in East Texas?
Sure.
Okay, I'll give you a side story. My wife probably doesn't like it, but I'm giving it to you. I was a good athlete. All my grandchildren are great athletes. I could say they got it from me, but I played football, and I was playing a football game. This is a story to understand. And I was running for a touchdown. It's a true story. It was at Levers Chapel, which was another high school. And I was running for a touchdown, and while I was running for a touchdown, the crowd all yelled, "Stop that Jew." That's a true story. They yelled, "Stop that Jew."
And did they?
No,
Did you keep on running?
I made the touchdown.
See that? You showed them.
Right, but that's a true story.
Yeah,
That
well-
actually happened in East
Yeah,
Texas.
I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not surprised either.
Did you find any incidents when you moved to Dallas at all? Any kind of anti-Semitism or racial slurs or anything like that when you got here?
I don't think so. I don't think we did find anything like that in Dallas, but of course, I don't think we mixed with anybody that we did that. I practiced law here in Dallas. I would have to stop and think about that, but I don't think I found anti-Semitism in Dallas. But of course, I wasn't involved in a situation that I would see it. But you had it in East Texas. I'm going to tell you, they did.
When did you finally retire, and what kind of things have you been involved in since?
That's a good question. When did I retire?
Or did you yet? Maybe you didn't yet.
No, I actually retired. I was a personal injury civil practice specialist. You got to reach a certain
It's
to get
58.
there. What year?
You were 58.
I was 58 years old when I retired from that. I guess I did mostly. I'm a specialist. You got to reach a certain point to be a specialist, and I was a civil trial specialist and a personal injury specialist. I handled civil cases, which are like contract cases, and obviously you know what personal injury is, car cases and things like that. So that's what I tried cases. I actually tried jury trials in front of juries, and that's probably one of the most interesting things I ever did.
Along those lines, can you think of somebody that you would consider your mentor in your profession?
That is a good question. When I left Pete Martin's Mitchell, the accounting firm, I worked for Marks, Time, and Aronson, a small law firm. I guess the most mentor, I guess, had it in the legal field was Keith Marks. He was one of the partners, and they represented a lot of poor people. They were a litigation firm, and if you're a litigation firm, you end up representing mostly poor people, not rich people. And that's where I tried lawsuits, and that's where I learned how to try lawsuits. And most of my lawsuits were tried in front of juries. And you got to really understand people to do jury trial. And I guess I had a knack 12, and you've got to figure out what people are like if you're going to pick jury. One of my best stories is one time I tried a case against a rich, big law firm, and I looked at that jury and I said, but you want this man to be your boss, and that's how I want it. That's a true story. They didn't want him to be their boss. Because juries, you end up with just regular people. You don't usually end up except hard-working people. And that's one of my stories I like to tell.
When you moved to Dallas, where did you live? What neighborhood, what area were you in for a while?
That's
SMU.
Right around SMU?
Yeah, that's interesting. I still own one of the houses. It's a rent house. We lived in a house, and it was very close to SMU, and I used to walk to SMU. And SMU had a good basketball team, college basketball. We used to walk to SMU and watch college basketball. We still own, you'd have to ask my wife, one of the houses. And I used to walk from that house to SMU to go to law school. And that's that.
Did you move from there, or did you stay in that neighborhood for many, many years? Or did you relocate?
We relocated. We stayed in that house for a while, and then we moved to a place that's called Shady Cliff. And we bought the house Shady Cliffs because we got enough money. We actually still own the house.
Not anymore.
Oh, my wife says we don't. So we don't own it anymore, but it was called Shady Cliff. And it was close to what is called the T-Bar Inn, which is a tennis club. And we used to walk to the tennis club and play tennis. And one of the reasons I bought the house is it had 4 magnolias. And I saw those magnolias in I guess there, and magnolias grow in, I'm not sure where, but I saw them someplace, and I fell in love with the magnolias. If you know magnolias tree, beautiful white flowers and everything. And I said, this house is what I want, because I saw those magnolias, and we bought that house, and that's where we lived for a long time.
What made you decide to move here to the Legacy, finally?
My wife,
She pushed you into it, huh?
she didn't push me into it, but she thought this was the best place to go to here. My daughter wanted us to go out in California, but here's the difference. Even though we have friends in California, we spent so much time here that we really, people come and pick us up and we go to dinner and this is where we spent most of our life, right here in Dallas, Texas. So what we do is we fly to California, get in our home out there, and visit our friends out there.
All right.
But that's why we picked the Legacy.
Any regrets about moving to Dallas?
That's a good question. I don't think so. We really had a good time here. Another thing that I didn't tell you, I was a professor at the University of Dallas. That's a college.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was a professor there. And I taught night school there.
Business law.
Business law there. My wife tells me that I don't remember all of this, but I taught business law at night school. And I don't know if you know Campisi's restaurant, but it's, do you know Campisi's?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I used to teach at night,
Mm-hmm.
and I would drive home because I didn't eat dinner, and I'd go to Campisi's, and I knew the original Campisi, but nobody was there but him and I, and we used to sit down, and I'd eat dinner there, and we would discuss, and got to know him very well.
That place is legendary.
It
Yes.
is legendary, and guess what? When it
Yep.
started,
Mm-hmm.
he only took cash.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So anyhow, I had a great time here.
I'm just curious, what kind of things have you found that you really enjoy here at the Legacy? Anything you've been getting involved in or going to or really appreciate that they have here?
That's a good question. Most everything I go to, because I'm not a social go-getter, my wife is. I end up going to all the things that she picks. One of the things I really enjoy here is the movies. I really enjoy the movies. The chairs are comfortable, and they've had some great movies. Raindrops Are Falling. You remember that movie?
Butch Cassidy.
You got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I do enjoy the movies.
You're dreaming.
Very
I've
good.
seen it a million
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
but I love it, and I
Yeah.
love the song. And then any other movies they have, I do enjoy the movie. The movies are great.
I want to ask you one more thing about Dallas before we wrap it up, but you've been here many, many years. I always like to ask people, what changes have you seen since the beginning when you got here until now? How has Dallas changed?
It's gotten bigger.
Well, yeah, yes.
Traffic's gotten worse. I used to, we lived on Shady Cliff, and I don't know if you know, but it's very close to the temple there.
Shalom.
Part
Shalom.
Temple Shalom.
Uh-huh.
And I used to walk to Temple Shalom from my house
Mhm.
to go to Temple Shalom. I would walk there and walk back. Northwood Country Club, do you know about North? It was between my house and the temple, Northwood Country Club. And I used to walk from my house to Temple. And then back home, obviously.
Right, right.
Obviously.
Yeah,
But it was a great time.
Joe.
wonderful. Yeah.
Well, if you stop that, I'll give you a couple of things about Larry.
Okay, go ahead.
This
Tell us the
book,
name again, Raisins.
It's called Raisins and Almonds. And Texas Oil,
Right.
Jewish Life, and Great East Texas Oil Field. That's
Oh.
Very good. Very
right.
good.
My wife says I pronounce it wrong, but I'm Southern. And my family's in this book. In this book is also the son of my grandmother who died from the flu, who was a poet, and this is one of his poems that he wrote.
Do you want to read it? Or,
I'd love to read it,
okay.
if I can read it. Problem is, I need my wife's glasses.
Okay.
This is something that was done,
Just read it, Larry.
and it was in loving memory of Samuel Bookin, son of Mr. and Mrs. L. Bookin, brother of Mrs. Bessie Feldman, that's my mother. This beautiful poem, Life, was written by Samuel Bookin before his untimely end, October 27th, 1930. That's when he died. He was 18, 19 years old, and he was
Just read it.
already
Just read it.
writing poetry.
Read it, honey.
Here's the poem. How wonderful is our life, even though filled with strife. Sometimes a smile, sometimes a tear. That's all life while we are here. No matter when, always smile. You'll find out that it's worthwhile. Always be happy, carefree, and gay. For in the end, it will always pay. And when in your life comes sorrow, always remember there is a tomorrow. What it will bring, no one can guess. Maybe it's happiness. And when from this earth you are ready to depart, for that long journey ready to start, keep on and don't cease to smile, for after all, life been worthwhile.
Beautiful.
And he could have been.
Beautiful.
If I'm right, he was 18 years old when he wrote
It was
this.
at the end of the
Spanish
flu
flu.
Spanish
going
flu,
around.
right.
And he was 18 years old, and I think he was a freshman at Centenary College. And I've always honored that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Very good.
Take my